5 Mysterious Unsolved Cases, Part 7. Faith Hedgepeth was a member of the Haliwa-Saponi Native American tribe, an honor student who earned a scholarship to the University of North Carolina and whose life was tragically cut short when she was bludgeoned to death in 2012 at 19 years old. It was a shocking waste of young life, and her killer has never been caught. Thanks to texts and technology, we have a pretty clear timeline of Faith's movements in the hours before her death. The night of September 6, 2012, she went to a club called The Thrill on East Rosemary Street with her roommate, Karina Rosario. The club's surveillance cameras show the two women leaving at 2:30 a.m. Karina was feeling sick, so Faith put her to bed at 3 a.m. and texted friend Brandon Edwards, saying, quote, "Hey B, can you come over here please? Karina needs you more than you know. Please let her know you care." When he didn't answer, Karina called Jordan McCrary, a UNCCH soccer player she knew, and at 4:25 a.m., he drove over to collect her. She left the apartment door unlocked with Faith sleeping inside. Karina and Jordan went to 103 West Longview Street, Chapel Hill, and stayed there until the next morning. Karina returned home at 11 a.m. with her friend Marisol Rangel, and they found Faith in her bedroom, bloodied, her body hanging off of the bed, wearing only a black shirt which was pulled up over her head. Karina immediately called 911. Here's a snippet from the call.
Dara 911, where is your emergency?
I just walked into my apartment and my friend is she's unconscious.
Okay, what's your address, ma'am?
I live at Hawthorne at the View.
Give me the address.
I just moved here. I'm about to get it. Oh my God.
Okay, you say your friend is unconscious?
She's unconscious. I just walked in the apartment and there looks like there's blood everywhere.
Okay, listen to me.
I don't know. I don't want to touch her, but...
Listen to me. Is she breathing?
I don't know.
You need to check and see. Is she breathing?
Kate, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay, listen to me.
There's blood everywhere.
Karina's whole demeanor throughout this 911 call was strange, although this could be put down to shock. She never said Faith's name. She refused to check if Faith was breathing, and she didn't ever explicitly ask for help. The police arrived on the scene and a criminal investigation began. The autopsy noted that Faith had cuts and bruising on her head and face, a chipped tooth, extensive bruising on her legs, right arm and hand, and her skull was fractured. Police also collected semen from Faith's body, which they believed belonged to her killer. The cause of death was recorded as blunt force trauma to the head due to beating, likely a result of being hit by an empty rum bottle in the apartment. There was also a white paper bag next to Faith's body. Written on the bag in capital letters was the message, "I'm not stupid, jealous." Suspicion immediately fell on Eric Tacoy Jones, Karina's abusive ex-boyfriend. Faith had helped her friend to file a restraining order against him, and Jones resented this. At one point, he had reportedly threatened to kill her. Karina's restraining order listed multiple violent incidents and times when Jones broke into Faith and Karina's apartment. The night before Faith's murder, he posted on Facebook, "Dear Lord, forgive me for all of my sins and the sins I may commit today. Protect me from the girls who don't deserve me and the ones who wish me dead today." This all seemed damning, and yet when the police took his DNA, it did not match what was collected from Faith's body. In fact, police tested all the men that Faith and Karina interacted with that evening, and they were all cleared. Within days, there was a $29,000 reward for information leading to an arrest, but this still did not produce any results. Investigators have a voicemail which Faith left on a friend's phone that evening. It sounds like an exchange between Faith, a male, and a female caught on an accidental pocket dial. Although the voicemail is very unclear, Crime Watch Daily hired audio expert Arlo West, who specializes in enhancing such recordings. He claimed he could hear Faith crying for help while the male says, "I think she's dying," and the female says, "Do it anyhow." They call each other Eric and Rosie. West is convinced that this is a recording of Faith's death. However, it was time-stamped at 1:23 a.m., when Faith would have been in the Thrill nightclub. Music in the background further supports this, though West argues that timestamps are often inaccurate, and he does not agree that the background noise is that of a nightclub. Here is a sample of what Arlo claims he could hear in the recording. A link to the full voicemail is in the description. News and Observer reporter Tom Gasparoli has covered this case extensively since 2012, and he often zeroed in on Karina's odd behavior in the 911 call. Chapel Hill police believed someone in Faith's social group committed the murder. They interviewed 2,000 people, DNA tested 750 of those, and reportedly narrowed a pool of 1,000 possible suspects down to 10. Karina Rosario has now left North Carolina and has said very little about the case since then, but Gasparoli wrote in 2017 that she was still cooperating with police. He claims that investigators do believe there is more information she can tell them. But until Karina is ready to share what she knows, if anything, this case will remain a mystery. Two-year-old Ariana Fitz and her 32-year-old mother, Nicole Fitz, were reported missing on April 5, 2016, in San Francisco, California. We know the fate of one of them, but not the other. During November 2015, Nicole needed to move out of her apartment, so she started working overtime and overnight shifts to save up for a deposit for a new place. Nicole was forced to crash on friends' sofas during the week and commute 2 hours to work at Best Buy in San Francisco. So she left Ariana with a babysitter, Helena Martin, or her sister, Ciolo Hearn, in an attempt to give her daughter some stability. Nicole trusted the sisters, and they had an informal babysitting/foster care arrangement, which came to an end when Nicole's co-worker, Goyette Williams, invited her and Ariana to move into her apartment. This new place was close to Nicole's work, but miles away from Helena and Ciolo, and they were reluctant to return the toddler. Nicole contacted them in mid-March, ready to pick up Ariana. She was unpleasantly surprised to find the sisters had taken her daughter to Disneyland without her permission. By this point, Nicole was keen to have her daughter back in her care. On the night of April 1st, 2016, Nicole took out $600 from an ATM and told Goyette, quote, "I have to meet my babysitter. She's over at some restaurant on 3rd Street. She's upset. I need to go see if she's okay." Nicole said she would return in 5 minutes, but Williams woke up the next morning to an empty house and a text from Nicole saying she was driving to Fresno with a friend named Sam. Goyette was confused because Nicole had never mentioned a friend called Sam. She asked for more details, but Nicole never answered. Then, at 1:13 a.m. on April 2nd, someone posted on Nicole's Facebook, "Spending time with my 3-year-old. Need this break." Break was spelled B-R-A-K-E. Ariana was 2.5, not 3, and friends say that neither of these are mistakes Nicole would make. Nicole didn't return home and never showed up for work. By April 5th, her friends and family were extremely worried and contacted police. Nicole's younger sister, Tess, suspected the sisters immediately. She thought they had compelled Nicole to withdraw the $600. She elaborated, quote, "I wouldn't have been surprised if they were like, 'Give us the money you owe us and we'll bring you your kid.'" Tess had also noted that many people were commenting on the missing post about Nikki and Ariana, and not once did they, referring to the sisters. Tess and Nicole's friend Claire actually drove to Helena and Ciolo's house in unsuccessful attempts to find them. But after a week of this, on April 8th, they received the worst news. Nicole's body was discovered in a shallow grave in John McLaren Park, curled up in a fetal position and covered with a piece of plywood. Commander Greg McEachern said, quote, "The plywood has markings on it we hope someone will recognize. It is our belief that the person brought the board with them." Ariana was still missing, and now police suspicion fell on Ciolo and Helena, especially when they discovered that Helena had served 6 years in jail for killing the father of her children back in 2001. The San Francisco police told the media the sisters were uncooperative in the investigation and provided inconsistent statements. The SFPD searched 3 residences belonging to the Hearn family and seized over 30,000 pieces of evidence, but still found no sign of Ariana. A month after Nicole's body was found, there had yet to be any arrests, so her former employer, Best Buy, put up a $10,000 reward for information leading to the recovery of Ariana. Sadly, the years have passed and that reward is untouched. Ariana, who would now be 5 years old, remains missing, and her mother's murder remains unsolved. The suspected sisters have never been prosecuted. they still live in the Bay Area and reject all media requests for interviews. But Nicole's friends and family keep the search alive for Ariana on social media. They vow to never stop hunting for Ariana now that her mom is no longer here to look out for her. This case is more elusive than the others, in large part due to the victim's uncommunicative nature. 25-year-old Taryn Olson-Carlisle was known to go off the grid, but would always check in via occasional text messages from third-party phones to wish happy birthdays and happy holidays. He was reported missing to Las Vegas police on March 2, 2017, and since then, no one has heard anything from him, nor has there been any activity on his bank account. On the day Taryn went missing, police obtained surveillance video from a business in the 3900 block of South Buffalo Drive, near Flamingo Road. The video shows two men arriving in a black SUV. They casually exit the vehicle, and one of the men moves toward the back of the car and retrieves a bag. He strolls through the parking lot towards a large metal trash container and then dumps this bag. Nothing suspicious there until police retrieved the bag and found clothing inside containing Taryn Olson-Carlisle's blood and a pair of rubber gloves. Investigators want to identify and interview the men in the video because they most likely have information and may know what happened, but unfortunately, they have never come forward. At first, detectives were hesitant to share the surveillance video in case Olson-Carlisle simply didn't want to speak with his loved ones. But the more time went by with no word from him, the more investigators suspected the worst. Metro Lieutenant Dan McGrath said, "Nobody's heard from him at all, which is very unusual." Taryn's silence, plus this worrying video, persuaded investigators to pass the case on to the LVMPD homicide section. It is sobering to know that even in this digital age, where surveillance cameras track our every move and GPS systems are built into so much domestic technology, someone like Taryn can simply disappear without a trace. The search for him continues. Janina Vasquez did not have an easy life, and as if that were not bad enough, her death remains a mystery to her family and everyone familiar with her case. 27-year-old Vasquez suffered from what is described as a seizure disorder, which was compounded by chronic pains sustained after a previous traffic accident. Due to her pre-existing health condition, Vasquez, who lived with her parents in Overland Park, Missouri, did not drive and was incapable of walking even moderate distances. On February 11, 2015, Janina texted her parents to say she was meeting friends Alan and Nicole and she would be out for the night. Her mother, Jenny Cochran, realized that this was unusual for her daughter, who apparently had very few friends, but although she was unaware of Alan and Nicole, she was pleased her daughter had acquired something of a social life. Unfortunately, the February 11th text was the last communication Cochran had with her daughter alive. 8 days later, Janina's body was found in an enclosed part of Richard Berkeley Riverfront Park at the bottom of a 25-foot well. How the body got there remains a mystery, even more so because police have ruled the death as an accident. There are several inconsistencies with a ruling of an accidental death. the chronology of events suggests something entirely different may have occurred. The facts are, when Vasquez failed to return home the next day, her mother contacted the police. According to the investigators, Janina's cell phone was used on February 11th near an intersection in downtown Kansas City, Missouri. And according to Cochran, this was an area of the city Vasquez rarely visited. Surveillance camera footage shows Janina leaving the Isle of Capri Casino alone at 7:40 p.m. on February 12th and getting into a red car. This took place a mile and a half from the position her cell phone last pinged. The same red vehicle was seen 3 hours later on surveillance camera footage near the park where her body was found. The park is immediately next to the casino on the banks of the Missouri River. Given her physical limitations, it seems unlikely that Vasquez could have negotiated the obstructions and difficulties necessary in order to end up in the park well. She would have had to climb over a high fence and lift a heavy door just to get to the well, let alone doing so without some sort of assistance. When Vasquez's body was found, her injuries consisted of severe trauma to the back of the head, consistent with a heavy blow. Both her wrists were broken, which is consistent with a heavy fall. Her bra, underwear, and socks were missing, along with the bag she was last seen carrying. Her phone was in one of her boots, and her identification material was found in the other boot. Months after her body was found, police revealed that Janina made a 911 call on February 12th, but allegedly the line was so poor it was impossible to understand what she was saying. Police could only tell the call was coming from a local park. Investigators searched the park but found nothing. The official ruling of an accidental death throws up far more questions than answers. We are being asked to believe that Vasquez was driven to the park in which she died by an unknown person, scaled a high fence, opened a heavy door, removed most of her clothing in freezing temperatures, then accidentally fell down a 25-foot well. And apparently she made a 911 call for no discernible reason the day after she went missing. Surely a 911 call suggests a person in distress, about to become a victim of a crime, or who is witnessing a potential crime. It is possible to dial 911 accidentally, but when the person doing so is found deceased, most people would suggest that is a coincidence too far. Janina's family is still searching for answers. Jamie Kloss was 13 years old when she went missing from her home, on the night both of her parents were discovered shot dead. At 1 a.m. on Monday, October 15, 2018, a 911 call was made from Denise Kloss's phone. All the dispatcher could hear was a disturbance and a lot of yelling. Investigators later said the commotion heard on the phone was very distant, as if the phone was in a hallway and the commotion was in another room. Jamie is believed to have been at home at the time of the call, but officers arrived less than 5 minutes later and found both parents dead inside the residence, and their daughter was nowhere to be found. The police didn't find the murder weapon in the home, but they did find Jamie's cell phone, meaning they could not use it to trace her whereabouts. By 3:30 p.m., a nationwide Amber Alert was put out on Jamie. Barron County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald said that Jamie was considered a missing and endangered child and authorities don't see any involvement from Jamie in her parents' deaths. A week later, police in Miami received a report from someone who believed they saw Jamie in their area Monday afternoon in a black Ford Explorer with two well-dressed, bearded men. However, the FBI followed up on the tip, and it was seen as not credible. Officials searched the area around the Kloss home, deploying drones and infrared equipment in the hunt for Jamie. The FBI offered a $25,000 reward for information on her whereabouts, and the Kloss parents' former employer added $50,000 to that. So far, over 1,000 tips have come in, but none of these efforts have advanced the case. Trying to piece together the shocking events, the Kloss' neighbor Joan Smrecker said in an interview with the Daily Mail that she and her husband heard two gunshots about 20 minutes before the 911 call was made, but thought it was a hunter. Jamie's aunt Jennifer told reporters she and her family couldn't imagine who would want to do this to the Kloss family. That's the puzzling part, she said. Every day and every night, trying to come up with who would have done this horrifying thing to them. I just have no answers. There are several theories as to who would want to kill a supposedly blameless couple and kidnap their young daughter. Some people believe that Jamie could have met a man online who shot her parents when they tried to stop her from leaving with him. But investigators have explicitly said they ruled out Jamie as a suspect. Besides, many people claim they remember Jamie and her parents as a very close, happy family unit. Some speculate the incident was a drug-related hit, meant to be for someone else. There is another theory that her father, James, a quiet, reclusive man, had a secret which was the reason behind this tragedy. But as the police investigation continues to turn over their lives, and doesn't unearth any hidden vices, that angle seems unlikely too. In a bizarre and shocking turn of events, 2 weeks after Jamie was reported missing, a 32-year-old man named Kyle Jenke Annis broke into the Kloss family home and stole some of Jamie's clothing, including some underwear. He worked at the same Jenny O turkey store as Jamie's parents, though denied knowing them, and had only recently been released on a bond for another separate burglary charge. He was swiftly caught, and although his actions were criminal and extremely suspicious, he was cleared of any involvement in the murder/kidnapping. The most concrete leads in the case are 2 vehicles that were spotted near the Kloss home at the time of Jamie's disappearance, caught on CCTV from nearby businesses. Barron County Sheriff Fitzgerald set up a tip line for anyone with information about either of these cars. Jamie Kloss has been missing for over 80 days. She's listed on the FBI's most wanted list, and the hunt for her continues.
Hey everyone, while this video was being edited, it came to our attention that Jamie has been found miraculously alive on Thursday, January 10th, 2019 in Gordon, Wisconsin, a town about 66 miles north of where she was last seen 3 months ago. Local teacher Jeannie Nutter was walking her dog when Jamie approached her and asked for help. Miss Nutter said that Jamie was skinny, dirty, and wearing shoes too large for her feet. They rushed to a neighbor's home to call 911, and a suspect was taken into custody about 10 minutes after the authorities arrived, thanks to a description Jamie gave of his car. 21-year-old Jake Thomas Patterson is being held on 2 counts of first-degree homicide and 1 count of kidnapping, while Jamie was taken straight to hospital. and we hope that in time she makes a full physical and emotional recovery from her ordeal.